The entire village was abuzz with talk of the mysterious white ghost that had been breaking into people's kitchens and rummaging through their refrigerators, causing a frenzy among the residents. While not every house in the village had been targeted, Mary's house had been broken into multiple times. Garry, Mary's son-in-law, had also experienced several break-ins since his wife Jasmin's passing. It had been 2 weeks since Jasmin's death when the incident of the white ghost entering the kitchen and searching for food in the refrigerator sent shockwaves through the village. Naturally, people began to speculate that it was Jasmin's spirit returning to her former home in the form of a ghost. This angered Mary greatly, as she felt her daughter's death was being used as a basis for these accusations. In her anger, Mary even brandished a machete, ready to confront anyone who accused her daughter's corpse of transforming into a ghost. However, Garry quickly intervened, trying to calm his mother-in-law down and prevent her from becoming too emotional. It was difficult to silence the public's gossip when some villagers were intentionally fueling the frenzy. Not only had the villagers encountered the ghost wandering aimlessly, but Joel had also witnessed the white ghost digging into a pot of rice on the kitchen stove. The rice would simply slip out of the ghost's back as it attempted to eat. Joel chose not to share this incident with his father or grandmother, fearing they would think he was influenced by the villagers' accusations. After 2 weeks since his mother's passing, the entire village had come to believe that her spirit had transformed into the white ghost. It seemed that the ghost, which frequently broke into kitchens to search for rice, was undoubtedly Jasmin's manifestation. If not, why would it only visit Garry's and Mary's houses? It was as if the ghost was seeking help from her own relatives. As soon as the ghost made its way into the kitchen, Garry's immediate response was to pray fervently throughout the night. However, ever since that incident when the ghost unexpectedly appeared in the kitchen, Garry had stopped praying altogether. He slept peacefully, completely oblivious to the ghost's intrusion, snoring away without a care in the world. It was only when he woke up and noticed the scattered rice husks and the lingering stench in the kitchen that he realized something had happened. Garry's frustration grew when his son Joel prohibited him from using the pot on the stove again. He couldn't understand why his teenage son felt entitled to make rules in their own home, especially when Garry was the one providing for them. He vehemently opposed the idea of discarding the pot that had been a part of their lives since his wife's passing, simply because the entire village was in a state of panic and their kitchen had been invaded. However, whenever Garry wanted to cook rice, Joel would bring up the pot stained with red soil, reminding him of the fishy smell that emanated from it. The scent of the grave seemed to pierce his nostrils, and at the same time, he received news about the grave of his wife, Jasmin, which had a hole the size of a beetle nut. Garry's heart raced with anxiety as he recalled the tragic fate that had befallen his family. Prior to her untimely demise, Jasmin had endured excruciating stomach aches that persisted for months. Garry had done everything in his power, seeking medical help and administering various medications, but Jasmin's condition only worsened. Eventually, he had to accept the heartbreaking reality that there was nothing more he could do to save her. The weight of grief and helplessness burdened his soul, leaving him with a heavy heart and a lingering sense of sorrow. Joel confronted his father, expressing disbelief in the existence of the wrapped ghost. "If the wrapped ghost thing is true, we don't need to be ashamed, Father," he asserted, challenging his father's dismissive attitude towards the incident that had befallen their family. Mary, quick to interject, scolded Joel for attempting to remind his father. "You don't want to show off, Joel," she snapped. Joel, having witnessed the ghost himself, tried to persuade his grandmother to not be too emotional about the situation. He had seen the ghost leaping up and down in the kitchen. Garry, intentionally testing his son, asked Joel if he had truly seen the ghost. Joel, unable to find the right words, bowed his head in frustration. He desperately wanted to share the truth about the ghost that had appeared in the kitchen. Earlier that morning, as dawn approached, Joel had gone to retrieve his bicycle from beneath the house, intending to join his friend in the garden. To his surprise, his friend was already waiting in the yard, visibly shocked by the sight of the white ghost bouncing around. The ghost was clearly wrapped in a white cloth, its movements restricted by bound feet. When Joel's friend purposely mentioned it, Joel pretended to keep the secret hidden, Since then, his friend had been too afraid to set foot in Joel's home to pick him up. Garry is determined to shield his son from the harmful rumors circulating in the village regarding his late wife's supposed transformation into a vengeful spirit. He believes that attributing such supernatural occurrences to her memory is disrespectful and undermines her peaceful rest. Garry emphasizes that only divine knowledge can discern the truth from the unseen, urging his son not to be swayed by baseless accusations. Joel, Garry's son, inadvertently stumbles upon a ghostly figure draped in white fabric while innocently playing in the yard. Startled, he catches the ghost's attention, only for it to vanish through the wall upon making eye contact. This eerie encounter is unprecedented in their village, prompting fear and confusion among the residents as more inexplicable incidents unfold, such as the ghostly presence in the kitchen and disturbances near the well. Garry's resolve to protect his son from the escalating supernatural events grows stronger as the village descends into turmoil. Little did they know that their humble abode had been infiltrated by a mischievous spirit. As the ghost glided through the rooms, a chorus of muffled groans echoed in the air, resembling the sounds of someone plagued by a stubborn cold. Those who caught a glimpse of the spectral figure, wrapped in ethereal garments, were overcome with fear, their bodies paralyzed by its eerie presence. Fearing the worst, the distressed residents sought the aid of Shaman Ramona, hoping she could banish the ghostly incarnation that had plagued their village. Yielding to the pleas of the entire community, Shaman Ramona reluctantly agreed to confront the supernatural entity. Armed with 3 dried coconut fronds, she embarked on her mission to restore peace. With a resolute voice, she declared, "Your realm is not ours to disturb. Return from whence you came." Striking the grave thrice with the fronds, she then scooped up handfuls of soil and scattered them around the surrounding bushes. Miraculously, 3 nights passed without any sightings of the troublesome ghost, bringing a glimmer of hope to the beleaguered villagers. However, their respite was short-lived, as the ghostly presence returned with a vengeance. The pale apparition bounded about, relentlessly pounding against the walls of their homes. Fearing for their safety, the villagers urgently summoned Shaman Ramona once again, as the situation escalated beyond their control. The ghost's audacity knew no bounds, as it not only raided their cooking pots, but also ventured into their homes, rummaging through wardrobes and leaving a trail of muddy chaos in its wake. Clothes lay strewn across the floor, tarnished by the repulsive muck. Despite being washed in the river, the clothes still emitted a foul odor when hung on the clothesline. The villagers were perplexed as to why the garments smelled like a decaying carcass in the heart of the wilderness. Shaman Ramona, determined as ever, almost gave up her efforts as the ghost continued to interfere. "Let us incorporate the wish prayer into our endeavors," Shaman Ramona suggested, her voice filled with determination. Just as she finished the wish prayer, a villager approached her with a weary sigh. He hesitated to climb the stairs of the house, explaining, "She insists so vehemently on finding a snort." Shaman Ramona grumbled, instructing the villagers to retreat. Standing at the top of the stairs, she pressed her big toe firmly against the floor. As she attempted to approach the board, it swiftly vanished into the darkness of the night. In that moment, a faint scream echoed through the village, carried by the night wind. After 3 consecutive nights of prayer at Garry's house for nearly 2 weeks, the villagers no longer encountered the wandering white ghost. Shortly thereafter, a villager was startled at midnight by a soft, feminine voice calling from the center of the yard. He then heard his son open the door, only to be astonished by the sight of Jasmin standing at the bottom of the stairs, her dress adorned with white fabric and stained with red soil. The villager was taken aback when he witnessed his son boldly inviting the woman, who appeared to be Jasmin incarnate, to the well for a bath. Puzzled by why Jasmin had stopped at their house instead of returning to her husband's, the villager hurriedly made his way to Shaman Ramona's residence to seek guidance on the unusual situation unfolding before him. Despite his concerns for his younger children who were sound asleep, the villager felt compelled to inform Shaman Ramona about his son's actions. Upon hearing the news, Shaman Ramona remained unfazed, indicating that there was more to the situation than met the eye. As Shaman Ramona and the villager arrived back at the house, they were met with the surprising sight of the younger children perched on the stairs, bewildered by the sound of their brother's laughter echoing from the well. The tension escalated when the laughter abruptly ceased, prompting the father and Shaman Ramona to rush to the well, only to find the son frozen in a peculiar position, as if engaged in a mysterious act. With a sense of dread, Shaman Ramona urged the villager to retrieve his son's lifeless body from the well, leaving the entire village in a state of anxiety over the tragic outcome of the encounter with the ghostly presence disguised as Jasmin. The villagers feared the repercussions of disturbing such an entity, uncertain of who else it might target next. Jasmin's incarnation grew more furious following their joint prayer at the Garry house, leading to the blame being placed on Shaman Ramona for escalating the violence within the incarnation. This resulted in the deliberate attack on the villager's son, causing distress among the villagers. However, Shaman Ramona emphasized that prayer was just one aspect of their efforts, highlighting the significance of the banana stem used in the ritual bathing of Jasmin's body and the villager's son. Garry, Jasmin's husband, was deeply troubled by the incident involving the villager's son, but he could discern between the real incarnation and the actual person, allowing him to avoid any potential harm. The young villager's son was innocent and fell victim to the deception of Jasmin's incarnation, leading to a tragic end when he was tricked into bathing in the well. The avatar's actions caused the boy's untimely death, leaving the entire village shaken. Despite the absence of the incarnation after the incident, Garry continued to carry a heavy burden of guilt for what had transpired. His friend reassured him that the blame did not lie with Garry, but with the naivety of the young boy who was misled by the malevolent spirit. Garry's remorse lingered, a constant reminder of the tragic consequences that unfolded. Garry's companion watched with concern as Garry struggled to come to terms with the harsh reality of the situation. The incident had left a deep impact on Garry, and his friend could see that he was finding it difficult to accept. It was a different story altogether if the young man could somehow survive the wrath of the villagers. The only person who knew the secret rendezvous between the young man and Garry's wife, Jasmin, was Garry's friend. He had witnessed on several occasions the young man sneaking off to meet Jasmin, who would be tending to the goats in the field. Once a few goats were tied to the tree branches, Jasmin would disappear into the bushes to meet the young man. It was astonishing to think that a 10-year-old boy could already be involved in an affair with Garry's wife. Garry's friend had contemplated telling him about this shocking revelation, but he feared that it would destroy Garry's household. So, he chose to keep the secret hidden, ensuring that Garry remained oblivious. Even when Jasmin passed away, Garry's friend continued to keep his encounters with the young man a secret. The presence of the vengeful spirit made Garry's friend's heart tremble, and he longed to confess about the affair. But the weight of the truth was too heavy for him to bear. Ultimately, with Jasmin's demise, it seemed inappropriate to bring up the matter again. It was best to let everything remain concealed, as long as the young man could rectify his mistakes. Learning from Garry's friend about Jasmin's affair with young men left Garry feeling deeply disappointed. However, his disappointment was further compounded when he discovered that his late wife had been intentionally herding the goats into a dangerous ditch near the pit at the edge of the rice field, without allowing their son to accompany her. Despite his suspicions, Garry believed in Jasmin's diligence and did not see a reason to stop her from helping with the goats. Over time, the situation seemed to resolve itself, and the troubling incidents became a thing of the past. Even after a few years had passed, Jasmin's grave remained undisturbed, almost as if a sense of peace had returned to the area. The mysteries surrounding Jasmin's actions and her affair slowly faded away, leaving Garry to ponder the complexities of human nature and the passage of time. Are you a fan of all things horror, or just someone who loves a good fright? Look no further than our channel, Undefined Horror Whispers, where we have a little something to satisfy every taste. So, if you're ready to be spooked, join us and get ready for a thrilling experience. Thanks for being a part of our terrifying journey. Thanks for